There comes a moment in many families when you realize your adult children no longer see you the way they once did. Perhaps they don't listen to your advice as eagerly, or maybe they brush off your opinions as if they're outdated. If you've ever felt that sting where you sense your own children's disregard for your wisdom, you're far from alone. The shift can happen gradually, almost silently. One day, they're leaning on you for support and guidance. The next, you notice their attention has drifted elsewhere. It's not just about daily phone calls that never come or visits that get shorter. It's also about the way they talk to you, how they make decisions without consulting you, and how they fail to show the simplest marks of respect. If you've been trying to fix this by raising your voice, demanding recognition, or reminding them of all the sacrifices you made when they were growing up, you've probably discovered that anger rarely works. In most cases, it only widens the gulf between you. That's why this conversation matters so deeply. Instead of frustration and resentment, I'll show you practical, actionable ways to rebuild the bridge and command respect without ever begging for it or turning every conversation into a confrontation. The truth is, when adult children dismiss or belittle you, it hurts more than words can express. But if you stick around to the end, you'll discover how certain shifts in your own behavior can spark a transformation in theirs. These steps aren't complex. They don't require you to become harsh or heartless. Instead, they focus on boundaries, self-respect, and a mindset that frees you from needing your children to fulfill your every emotional need. Let's start by recognizing how this dynamic changed in the first place. When your children were small, your voice was the strongest in their world. You were the one teaching them right from wrong, guiding them through life's hurdles, and always having the final say. But adulthood, particularly modern adulthood, often brings an eagerness for independence. The things you used to handle for them become their own responsibility, and a natural distance can form as they create new lives with careers, partners, and sometimes children of their own. Yet this distance becomes problematic when it blurs into disregard or disrespect. The small signs can be subtle: dismissive comments when you share an opinion, rolling eyes when you recall how it used to be, or even the silent ignoring of your calls and messages. You might interpret these behaviors as personal attacks or attribute them to an ungrateful nature. In reality, part of the problem stems from the new dynamic that emerges as your children gain independence. They're no longer required to rely on your authority or comply with every request, which can leave you feeling sidelined. Still, this transition doesn't have to spell the end of mutual respect. The key is acknowledging the natural change, accepting that you're no longer the caregiver dictating every rule, while refusing to become a person whose presence is taken for granted. There's a sweet spot between letting them live their own lives and allowing them to treat you as irrelevant. Recognizing where that line has been crossed is the first step in redefining your relationship. You might feel a pang of resentment when you see that shift. It's normal. You devoted decades to their well-being, only to watch them discard your wisdom like yesterday's news. But before you blame yourself or them, understand that this shift is part of growing up for both children and parents. By recognizing it, you're not admitting defeat. You're laying the groundwork for a new kind of parent-child relationship, one rooted in mutual respect rather than obligation or blind deference. Having recognized the changed dynamic, it's time to set boundaries. And this can be surprisingly tricky. Many parents feel guilty about enforcing rules with their adult children. They worry that making demands or saying no might push their children away. In reality, a lack of boundaries does more harm than good. When adult children realize they can disregard your feelings without consequence, they begin to see your kindness and support as something automatic, something that requires zero respect to earn. Boundaries don't have to be confrontational. In fact, the best boundaries are set calmly and enforced with consistency. Suppose your child consistently arrives unannounced and expects you to drop everything. You can let them know without an angry tone that you'd prefer they call ahead. Suppose they make plans for you, like expecting you to watch the grandchildren every weekend, without asking if it's convenient. You can politely point out that you have your own schedule and appreciate being asked in advance. The effectiveness of this approach hinges on you standing firm when they push back, and they will push back, especially if they've grown used to you accommodating them at every turn. When people think of boundaries, they sometimes imagine harsh ultimatums that escalate conflict. The reality is often much gentler. Enforcing boundaries might involve telling your adult child that you love helping but need to schedule that help on days that are feasible for you. If your child reacts with frustration, you can remind them this is not about rejecting them. It's about preserving your own well-being so that you can genuinely be there when it matters. One of the greatest benefits of strong boundaries is that they can actually improve the quality of your time together. If you teach people to treat your time, privacy, and emotional capacity with respect, they're more likely to show genuine gratitude when you do help or spend time with them. Instead of feeling like a doormat who's at their beck and call, you become someone whose presence is valued and appreciated. It's impossible to earn genuine respect from others if you don't hold yourself in high esteem first. Many parents slip into a pattern of seeking their adult children's approval, bending their own preferences out of fear that a disagreement could jeopardize the relationship. But here's the harsh truth. The more you make your happiness dependent on what your children think or feel, the more they sense your vulnerability. Respect naturally erodes when someone appears desperate for acceptance. Consider how you respond in everyday interactions with your children. Do you hold your opinion back when you disagree for fear of conflict? Do you shuffle your own plans the moment they have a slight need, even if it inconveniences you? These might seem like small sacrifices made out of love, but done repeatedly, they send a message. You believe your needs come second. Over time, your children begin treating your needs as secondary to. It's not usually out of malice. It's simply the habit you've reinforced. Self-respect is not arrogance. It doesn't mean being harsh, dismissive, or ignoring your children's requests. It means having the strength to say, I have value and I must preserve my well-being. Two, when you start acting from a place of self-respect, your children may initially be thrown off. They may see it as you becoming stubborn or uncooperative because it's a shift from what they're used to. But with time, they'll adjust and they'll see the confident, self-assured version of you as someone worth listening to. Remember that a simple no can speak volumes. When used sparingly, yet firmly, a well-placed refusal can remind your children you're a person with agency, not just a resource they can tap into anytime. This doesn't mean shutting them out or turning cold. It means recalibrating the balance so that you can maintain a sense of dignity, which in turn naturally commands respect. Emotional independence is one of the most overlooked aspects of earning respect from adult children. It's easy to forget that while you provided everything for them when they were younger, they won't necessarily fulfill your emotional needs when they grow up. Clinging to that expectation often backfires, leading to disappointment and an inadvertent push for your children to distance themselves even more. Instead of waiting by the phone for them to call, consider filling your days with activities, clubs, or social groups that excite and energize you. Perhaps you've always wanted to take up painting or read more widely or join a local volunteer organization. The more you invest in your own emotional and intellectual growth, the more your children will see that you are a person with a life, not just a parental figure in suspended animation waiting for their attention. This doesn't mean shutting your children out. It means reframing your perspective so that your sense of self-worth isn't tied to whether they visit you this weekend or call you every evening. Ironically, when your children notice you're living a fulfilling life without hovering over theirs, they often become more curious about what you're doing. They start initiating calls to share their own news or to ask about yours. Why? Because you've subtly demonstrated that they are part of your world, but not the entirety of it. Emotional independence also gives you a healthier vantage point when disagreements arise. Instead of feeling personally attacked, if your child disagrees with you, you can calmly accept their opinion and move forward. It frees you from the anxiety of feeling like you must always keep the peace at the expense of your own comfort. Over time, they'll respect you more, and your conversations may even become more meaningful because both parties are engaging from a place of choice rather than obligation. Many parents fall into the trap of chasing their children's approval well into their kids' adulthood. They aim to be the cool parent, the ever-accommodating one who never makes waves, but constantly seeking your children's nod of approval, whether it's by always paying the restaurant bill, rearranging your schedule to accommodate theirs, or tiptoeing around topics that might upset them, does the opposite of what you intend. When you chase approval, you inadvertently teach your children that your presence and your love are guaranteed, regardless of how they treat you in return. They might start seeing your kindness as an endless resource that doesn't require any reciprocation. Before you know it, you're in a cycle where you're doing more, and they're giving less and less consideration to your needs. Breaking this cycle means learning to say enough, not in a dramatic, final way, but through small, everyday actions. For instance, if you always pick up the tab whenever you meet for lunch, you might, on your next outing, let them handle it or at least split it. If you've been rearranging your plans to accommodate their schedule every time, calmly inform them that you have a commitment that day and you're not able to move it. These small gestures send a clear message. You value their company, but you also value yourself. Over time, they begin to realize you're no longer the parent who will do anything for a shred of approval. It's important to acknowledge that this transition might feel uncomfortable at first. You may worry your children will see you as selfish or unkind, but remember that real respect stems from balanced, healthy relationships. And healthy relationships require both parties to give and receive. When your children realize you're no longer bending your entire life around their whims, they might actually begin to appreciate and cherish the times you do come through for them. When you notice disrespect, whether it's them speaking down to you or ignoring your boundary, you might be tempted to snap back with a lecture. After all, you raised them, you've sacrificed for them, and it feels wrong to be dismissed. However, confrontations filled with anger and lengthy scolding sessions often fall on deaf ears. People seldom come out of an argument thinking, you know what, they yelled at me, so now I deeply respect them. Instead, let your actions do the talking. If they're dismissive during a phone call, wrap up the conversation politely and end it. If they're not respecting your time, gently remove yourself from the situation. This approach is not about giving the silent treatment or playing mind games. It's about gracefully showing you won't engage when they ignore or disrespect you. Over time, they'll realize they can't draw you into verbal sparring matches just to prove a point. Consistency is vital here. You can't enforce your boundaries one day and then cave in the next. If you calmly stand firm, refusing to be drawn into emotional tug-of-war, they'll notice that respect must be mutual for the conversation to continue. It's a subtle but powerful dynamic shift. By showing them that you value your own dignity and peace of mind, you nudge them to meet you at that level. When they do speak to you respectfully, show genuine appreciation, engage with warmth and readiness to help, but only when it aligns with your own well-being. This contrast, where disrespect leads to a calm but firm withdrawal, while respect leads to a positive, supportive connection, teaches them more effectively than any lecture could. Imagine someone who's constantly waiting for you to call, who seems to have nothing else going on, and whose entire emotional state hinges on whether you show up or not. While it might seem like dedication and love, over time, it can feel like a heavy weight. The same is true in the parent-child relationship. When your adult children see you as having no interests, hobbies, or social life of your own, they may regard you as someone who exists solely to accommodate them. That viewpoint is a fast track to disrespect, whether they mean it consciously or not. The remedy is to invest in your own fulfillment. If there's a community group you've wanted to join, a church activity, a fitness class, or simply a group of friends who share a hobby, now is the time to do it. Not only does this improve your own quality of life, but it also demonstrates to your children that you are an active, engaged individual. In that sense, they see you as a person with a vibrant life, not just mom or dad who sits at home waiting for them to pop in. When your children ask about your day, you'll have more to share than simply cooking or errands. You'll have stories about your painting class, your volunteer work, or your book club's recent meeting. This signals to them that your time is valuable and that if they want to be part of it, they need to respect the fact you have a life beyond them. Some parents worry about seeming indifferent or selfish when they pour time into themselves. But healthy self-investment isn't indifference. It's exactly what can spark new interest and respect from your children. People, regardless of age, are drawn to those who are passionate and purposeful. Watching you be excited about something in your life can remind them of the parent they once looked up to, reawakening admiration and understanding. Respect from adult children isn't something you can force. It's a natural response to the way you carry yourself. By acknowledging that the parent-child dynamic has shifted, you give yourself permission to set boundaries, retain your dignity, and navigate your relationship in a way that honors everyone's independence. When you enforce these boundaries without guilt, it sends a strong message. I care about you deeply, but I also value myself. That self-respect is contagious. Over time, your children will notice the lines you've drawn and come to appreciate the consistent, caring way you uphold them. A key piece of this journey is understanding that you no longer need your children's approval to feel whole. It might feel strange to step back from the caretaker role you've known for decades, but you're stepping into something equally important: self-fulfillment and emotional independence. This doesn't sever the bond you share, it reconfigures it. Instead of being locked in a pattern of overaccommodation and silent resentment, you emerge as a person who has a life, goals, and a sense of purpose beyond your children. Embodying respect is far more powerful than simply demanding it with words. Consistency in your actions, speaking calmly but firmly, leaving a conversation if disrespect is shown, maintaining your own happiness, drives home the point that you are not a passive participant in your children's lives. You are a vibrant individual who loves them but refuses to be treated as a doormat. And when you show that resilience, your children are more likely to listen, empathize, and grow in their own right. Ultimately, regaining respect is not about severing ties or building walls. It's about cultivating a more balanced and fulfilling relationship. It's about realizing that love between parents and adult children should be reciprocal, built on mutual care rather than duty or guilt. If you implement these steps, standing firm on your boundaries, saying no when necessary, ending the approval chase, and passionately pursuing your own happiness, you'll find that respect doesn't just return, it grows deeper and stronger over time. Thank you for spending your time here and for caring enough about your relationship with your children to seek a better path forward. Change doesn't happen overnight, but with patience and self-assurance, you can redefine the way your children see and treat you. When you respect yourself, others naturally follow suit. This is your reminder that it's never too late to shift the dynamic, reclaim dignity, and show your children by example what respect truly means.